Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. Here are the stories that we are following today, July 19, 2013. In international news, in New York, said Miguel Rodriguez, 53-year-old, committed a fraud by conning immigrants seeking driver's licenses. Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe branded the United States absolutely insane. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was due to travel to West Bank to meet Palestinian president. In sports, the trainer of Asafo Powell said that he denies claims of ever providing them with illegal substances. West Indies have resisted the temptation to ring the changes to go into the third one-day international. And in entertainment, Jay-Z has dropped by an English cathedral to see inspiration for his latest album. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
It's all about the food. August the 10th. Foreigners welcome to the land of oil dung. Beers and strong rum, girls hot and can done. It's all about the food. Oil Dung Fest, August 10, Lavaman, I'm in the place.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Stefan Samuel. This segment of the news is sponsored by Total Caribbean Network. In international news, in New York City, the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency says a former New York Police Department officer has pleaded guilty to defrauding immigrants from the Caribbean and other regions. On Wednesday, the ICE said Miguel Rodriguez, who is 53 years old, committed the fraud by conning immigrants seeking driver's licenses and immigration assistance out of thousands of dollars. Rodriguez pleaded guilty to the charge in Dutchess County Court in upstate New York. Under the terms of his plea agreement, Rodriguez is expected to be sentenced to 1 year imprisonment and to be subject to an order of restitution in an amount of $13,862. Special Agent in charge of HSI New York, James T. Hayes Jr., said Rodriguez was entrusted to serve the community, but instead he robbed thousands of dollars from the very people he was sworn to protect. He preyed upon the necessity and hope of individuals seeking immigration assistance and legitimate government documents, he said. Rodriguez told the court that between October 2010 and August 2012, he charged Caribbean and other immigrants $300 each to enter a state lottery, which he claimed could garner them valid New York State driver's licenses. As part of his fraudulent scheme, the ICE said Rodriguez visited religious congregations and preyed upon unsuspecting churchgoers, portraying himself as a compassionate individual with official connections to help them get driver's licenses and other services. In Detroit, once the hub of America's car industry, has become the biggest city in U.S. history to file for bankruptcy, with debts estimated at $18.5 billion. The federal bankruptcy court filing, which has been feared for months, puts the cities on an uncertain course and sets the stage for a costly court battle with creditors. The future of pensions and health benefits for thousands of city workers hangs in the balance. Anticipating the filing, investors drove prices of Detroit bond lower, sending their yields to record highs on Thursday. Speaking after the announcement, Mr. Snyder, a Republican, said, "Let's stop the decline. Let's get to the stability. Let's get things working in the right direction." Mr. Snyder named Mr. Orr in March to tackle the city's spiraling long-term debt. A White House spokeswoman said U.S. President Barack Obama and his senior team were monitoring the situation in Detroit closely. Detroit was once a hugely prosperous car manufacturing center that exemplified American progress. Its automotive giants switched production to planes, tanks, and munitions during World War II, earning the city the nickname of the Arsenal of Democracy. Detroit has seen its population fall from 700,000 from a peak to 1.8 million people in 1950. And the city's government has been beset by corruption cases over the years. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was due to travel to the West Bank to meet Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Friday, U.S. and Palestinian officials said, in a last-ditch effort to clinch the renewal of peace talks with Israel. Kerry met Palestinian negotiator Siab Erekat in Amman on Friday and had been consulting Israeli officials by telephone, a U.S. official said, but did not say if a breakthrough was near. A State Department official in Amman said Kerry would go to Ramallah and in the afternoon to see Abbas, but did not disclose his proposals to revive peace talks that broke down in 2010. The Palestinian leadership on Thursday did not accept Kerry's latest plan, but signaled that it was leaving the door open for him to continue his peace push. An Israeli government spokesman could not be reached for comment on Kerry's visit. Israel has balked at the Palestinians' demands and says talks should resume with no preconditions. Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Ze'ev Elkin said to establish a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders would be suicidal. Kerry, on his sixth peacemaking visit to the region since March, was due to return to the United States later on Friday. Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe branded the United States absolutely insane for voicing concerns about a July 31st election, although neighboring South Africa joined Washington in criticizing chaotic preparations for the vote. Speaking to thousands of supporters in Chinghoyi, 115 kilometers northwest of Harare, the 89-year-old also rejected calls for reform of partisan security forces, saying his main rival, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai, could make changes if he won. The vote is meant to end 5 years of fortuitous unity government under a deal brokered by regional power, South Africa following violent and disputed polls in 2008, but with its credibility also being questioned, those hopes are waning. The United States said this week it was deeply concerned by a lack of transparency, suggesting Washington was in no mood to ease sanctions against a victorious Mugabe, even if he wins without violence. In unusually strong criticism, South African President Jacob Zuma's top Zimbabwe expert, Linedwe Zulu, said Zuma had telephoned Mugabe and to tell him that he was not pleased with the runner-up to the poll. South Africa wants to avoid a repeat of the 2008 violence, which brought a flood of refugees into the country and added a further burden on stretched state finances. Egypt's interim president pledged Thursday to protect his country against those who seek chaos and violence in the aftermath of a popularly backed military coup, promising that justice and reconciliation will be for all. President Aldi Mansour gave his first address to the nation ahead of planned protests Friday by ousted President Mohamed Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt's military, already worried by post-coup violence that has killed more than 60 people, issued a stern warning about causing unrest during the scheduled protests by both the Brotherhood and Morsi opponents. In his 8-minute pre-recorded message broadcast on state television, Mansour said Egypt is going through a decisive period in its history where some want to drag the country toward the unknown and cause chaos. Mansour said his government is committed to realizing security and stability and will not be scared or terrorized. He vowed not to be lenient with those who killed the innocents. A senior Brotherhood official and former lawmaker Saad Imara told the Associated Press after the speech that his group didn't recognize Mansour as the country's leader. Amara called Mansour merely a representative of General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the nation's army chief. Mansour's speech is a sign that he and the interim administration are nervous of any opposition on the street, Amara said. A massive rally is planned for Friday by supporters of Morsi, overthrown 2 weeks ago in a military coup following massive protests against him. The Muslim Brotherhood continues to demand Morsi's reinstatement. Some protests since the coup have turned violent. The Brotherhood says the military and police opened fire without reason on peaceful protesters. The military says armed Islamists started the violence by attacking the club. Human Rights Watch has said that authorities moved in to break up a peaceful sit-in and some Morsi supporters used live ammunition. On the eve of Friday's rally, Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohammed Beatty issued a statement calling on the military to reconsider its decision and to return to righteousness and accept the will of the people. Today's rallies coincide with the 10th day of Ramadan, which Egyptians celebrate as the day of armed forces crossed the Suez Canal in the 1973 war with Israel. Beatty used the occasion to celebrate achievements of the armed forces to appeal members of the military to remember that their real mission was to defend Egypt. Beatty and a dozen other Brotherhood figures and supporters are wanted by prosecutors for their alleged role in inciting violence. In his statement, he urged protesters to remain peaceful. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.